I've been doing this for a long time now. I've been building and breaking and occasionally setting things on fire, just once, for literally decades. And along the way, I've developed some opinions that don't always go down well at smart home dinner parties. As if we have dinner parties. So, go grab a coffee. I'll get one too, and then we'll get into it. Voice assistants within a smart home are brilliant in exactly two scenarios. When your hands are full, and when you have accessibility needs that make physical controls difficult. If either of those apply to you, voice assistants are amazing. No argument from me there. But as a primary way of controlling your home, they're kind of rubbish at it. You have to remember the exact name of every device. To turn on the... what did I call it? The office lamp? The desk light? That one? That light, it's right there! And God help you if you have two devices with similar names. You'll be stood in your kitchen shouting, "Not that one!" like you're arguing with a toddler. And they mishear you all the time. You ask for the hallway light and they start playing Hall & Oates at full volume, or they turn on the wrong light, or they cheerfully tell you that the device you've been using for 3 years doesn't seem to be set up.
You are so dumb!
Then there's the latency. You say the command, you wait, and then you wait, and then you wait. The light will come on eventually, or it doesn't. And you get the dreaded, that device isn't responding. The button on your wall is instant every single time. Oh, and we were promised that AI would fix all of this. Alexa Plus, Google's Gemini integration. They were supposed to make voice assistants actually smart. And yet people are still reporting that their AI-powered assistants can't reliably turn on a light. We've had these things for over a decade now, and the basic experience hasn't fundamentally changed. You're still just shouting at a bauble and hoping for the best. Look, I still use voice occasionally. If I'm cooking and my hands are covered in like raw chicken or something, I'm not going to reach for a light switch. But the idea that voice is the future of smart home interaction, that it should be your default, I don't buy it. I think it's a novelty that we've all collectively agreed to pretend is more useful than it actually is. And don't get me started on those stupid AI pins. I do not want people talking to their devices on the tube. The ones that play music out loud are bad enough, thank you very much. I suspect most people who have voice assistants really only use them for timers and to play music on. That's actually a decent use case for me. I'm willing to say that my HomePod is a smart speaker, but it doesn't feel like a smart home hub to me, not by a long shot. Alright, this one really is a hot take. I do actually use motion sensors. I've got them in the hallways and on the side of my dining room that's basically the corridor between the kitchen and the rest of my house. And in those spots, I love them. You walk through the hall and the light comes on, you leave and it goes off. That's the entire interaction and it works more or less every single time. But those are rooms you walk through, they're transient rooms, they're not rooms you stay in, and that's where the whole thing falls apart for me. Traditional motion sensors, the PIR ones, can detect you entering a room just fine, but the second you sit down and stop moving, you've vanished. You're sat on the sofa reading a book and suddenly the lights go off, because as far as the sensor's concerned, you've left the room. So you do the arm wave, you know the arm wave, because you need to trigger the sensor to prove that you still exist in your own living room. Okay, to be fair, millimeter wave sensors have more or less solved this issue. They can detect you breathing, they can zone off specific areas, they're hugely ahead of PIR, but they're still not perfect. They can get false positives from fans or from curtains moving, and reflective surfaces can really confuse them. In my old house, I had a full-length cupboard which had mirrored doors. The millimeter wave sensor was literally useless in that room. So for hallways and pass-through spaces, motion sensors are fine, they make sense. But for rooms where you actually spend your time, the amount of effort that people spend tweaking, tuning, adjusting, setting timeout values, adding occupancy helpers, building template sensors to combine multiple inputs. At some point you've got to ask yourself, is this actually saving me any effort? If all I'm trying to avoid is standing up to flip the light switch, I could just put a Zigbee button next to the sofa. I've probably spent more time debugging motion automations in my living room than I've spent my entire life just flipping light switches, and I suspect that most people, if they're being honest with themselves, would probably say the same. Look, I said these were hot takes, and I know the automate everything around are going to hate this one, but not every room in your house needs to be smart. Some rooms are perfectly fine being dumb. I'd even argue they're better being dumb. Bathrooms. Perfect example. You're in there for, what, 5 minutes? 10 if you're having a long shower or a particularly good scroll on your phone. The light switch is right there by the door. You hit it on the way in, you hit it on the way out. What exactly is a smart bulb adding here? The ability to turn the light blue while you brush your teeth? Yeah, congratulations, I suppose. I'm going to mention motion sensors here again because I know you've been in an office toilet when the lights have automatically turned off and the motion sensor doesn't reach the inside of the cubicle, so you're basically just left pooping in the dark. Actually, I will give a pass to humidity triggered extractor fans because I can imagine that's actually useful, but everything else, no. Actually, maybe bath time mood lighting will be nice. Okay, I'll admit I'm on the fence about this one now. But then there's guest rooms. I feel really strongly about this one. Don't put smart home tech in your guest room, especially not a voice assistant. Think about it from your guest's perspective. They're sleeping in someone else's house and there's a microphone on their bedside table that they didn't ask for. Even if you trust your voice assistant completely, your guest might not, and they shouldn't have to. Plus, every guest room smart device is a device your guest probably doesn't know how to use. If you really must put something in there, just stick a button on the bedside table so they can turn the lights off when they're in bed. Or, you know, just put a lamp in there. Same experience. Some rooms just don't need the effort. And that's fine. I love a good dashboard. I really do. But if I'm being honest with myself, I make them because they're fun and because they're pretty, not because they're actually useful. A well-designed Home Assistant dashboard is a thing of beauty. Custom cards, clean layouts, real-time data, weather widgets, camera feeds. There are people in the community making dashboards that look better than a lot of professional software. It's impressive stuff, it really is, and I completely understand the appeal. I've made a bunch of them myself in the past and it's really, really fun. But I have a confession to make. When I set up my current smart home, I didn't make a fancy dashboard, not one. The worst part of that is, I didn't even do it on purpose, I just sort of forgot. I set up my automations, I stuck buttons where I needed them, and at no point did I think, oh, I need a dashboard for this. It's been over a year, and honestly, the first time I even realised I hadn't made one was when I made a demo one for a video last month. And that made me realise something kind of uncomfortable. Dashboards are brilliant to build. They're a lot of fun. They're really creative. They look amazing in screenshots, but in a well thought out smart home, you almost never need to actually use one.
Get out of my house!
My automations run themselves. My buttons control everything I need to control manually, so when would I pull up a dashboard? I'm not saying they're pointless for everyone. If you've got one mounted on a wall tablet and you use it daily, more power to you. In my last house, I had one on the fridge which gave me monitoring data about my electric car and was a secondary display for my smart thermometer, which was cool, but that's all it was used for. But for a daily interaction tool, for most people they're a hobby. A project that looks like a tool. Beautiful, impressive, but actually only useful at best once a month. Now, I will admit, I probably will build another one eventually because they are fun to make, and I'm sure I'll eventually convince myself I found a good use case for it, but I'm equally sure that I'll use it a lot less than I'll convince myself I will. Ooh, this one might start some fights. For those who don't know, Home Assistant has a built-in way to create automations. There's a visual editor, it is actually getting better all the time, and it's perfectly fine for simple stuff. Turn the light on when the sun sets. Send a notification when the washing machine finishes. If this, then that. Perfect. But for anything more complex than that, I think Node-RED does it better. Node-RED is a separate tool that connects to Home Assistant as an add-on. It's a visual, flow-based programming environment, so you build automations by wiring together nodes on a canvas. And once you get your head around it, it's so much easier to build and maintain complex automations. I know this is heresy in certain corners of the Home Assistant community. Native automations have genuinely improved enormously. The visual editor is actually pretty good now, and for a lot of people it's all they'll ever need. If that's you, I'm not telling you to switch, but the moment you start building something with multiple conditions, multiple branches, error handling, time-based logic, variables that need to persist across triggers, Home Assistant's native automations start to feel like you're wrestling with them. If you can do it at all. Node-RED just flows. Literally, it's in the name. I've been using Node-RED for years. I love it so much that I got certified in it. Hell, this entire channel started because I was trying to get a job there and I wanted to impress them, so it's probably fair to say I have a little bit of bias for this one, but nevertheless, I have tried going back to native automations more than once. I always end up back in Node-RED because of the way my brain works, that visual flow just makes more sense. Is it for everyone? No. The learning curve is real. It adds another thing to maintain, another possible point of failure, and if your automations are simple, you actually don't need it. But for readability, it's amazing. When I open one of my Node-RED flows, I can see the entire automation laid out visibly. I can trace the logic with my eyes. When I open a complex Home Assistant automation, I'm either scrolling through YAML code or clicking through menus. Once you get past the learning curve, I really do think Node Red is easier. I also think it's kind of beautiful, and it's undeniably more fun to drag around and wire up boxes than it is to, let's face it, fill in a form. If you've watched a few of my previous videos, you probably saw this one coming, and based on some of the comments I've had on previous videos and in my Discord channel, I actually think a lot of you agree with me on this one, so this might not even be a hot take, hence why I put it in the bonus. The most useful smart home interface is not a complex automation, it's not a voice assistant, it's not a fancy dashboard. It's a button within arm's reach. A physical, tactile, press it with your finger button, on the wall, by the bed, on the desk, wherever you need one to be. Buttons don't need the internet, buttons don't mishear you, buttons don't have a cooldown period, buttons don't get false positives from the cat walking by, and they don't require you to remember what you named the device. Press the button, thing happens. Every single time. I know, right? Revolutionary. I can already see the comment section right now. Actually, I have motion sensors in my living room and they're perfect. Sure they are, buddy. Good job.
I'm so proud of you.
Go on then. Tell me which of my opinions I'm wrong about. I'll be on the Foxy's Lab Discord if you want to have it out properly. Link in the description. If you like this t-shirt, by the way, it's available now at shop.foxyslab.com. If you want to see more of me, go check out this video right here. Okay, that's enough waffle from me. Go make your own opinions. Try. Whoops.